Welcome, friends and foes, survivors and killers. I don't know if you're aware, but this channel just hit 50,000 subscribers, and so today I thought I'd do something a little bit special, because today is the day I answer a bunch of your burning questions. Over the past couple of weeks, you lovely lot have been asking me questions on my YouTube community posts or on Twitter, and today I'm going to be answering a fair few of those. If your question didn't get answered, or if you have a different question you want to ask me, you can always join my Discord server, where I have a channel, Ask the Law Guy, where people ask me questions and I do my best to answer as many as I can. The invite link is in the description, so if you've got more questions then that's where you should put them. So on that note, let's get started. What do you think about more non-horror licensed chapters? For example, Final Fantasy. At this point, D&D has kind of proven that it's less about the license itself and more about the implementation. The definition of what qualifies as horror enough for Dead by Daylight can be stretched or manipulated depending on how the license holder allows Dead by Daylight and behaviour to use their source material. For example, a Magic the Gathering license chapter with a Phyrexian killer could go really hard, provided Wizards allow behaviour to really look into the mechanical body horror of a Phyrexian. But a Magic license chapter with Oko as the killer, because he's marketable and is the villain of their newer standard set, would probably be kinda crap. That was the key behind Vecna's success. It wasn't just enough to put Vecna in the game, they went to a lot of effort to make sure that he felt like a good fit. And as long as these licensed chapters keep being made with a high level of effort and dedication to the source material, whilst integrating in Dead by Daylight fluidly, I think the sky is kind of the limit. So yeah, it's very much a case-by-case basis. Would you ever be interested in doing a video on Saku the Red Crane from the Tomes? And whatever happened to that Maurice video that you were doing? I'm answering these two at once because they kinda have the same answer. Saku and Maurice broadly share a story in the Observer Tome stories over the past, I'm going to say 6 or 7 times. For those who don't know, Maurice was the horse on the clown's map, Father Campbell's chapel, who apparently has gone on his own adventures in the fog away from the trials, and has encountered Saku Nanako, a young Japanese woman who's fighting her way through the monsters of the fog. The two have appeared together a lot and had their own share of adventures, which led me to want to make a video on Maurice and Saku, and what they've been doing together separately from the trials. But one thing threw a spanner in the works, and that is Project T, the upcoming Left 4 Dead style shooter from Midwinter Entertainment that's being made for the Dead by Daylight universe. It looks like it'll be starring a bunch of, well, hermits and outcasts stuck in the realms, who are fighting their way through the monsters of the fog without actually being involved in the trials. And this description fits Saku pretty much to a T, so I suspect she might be a significant part of this game. With that in mind, I've been kind of unsure. Do I make a video on Saku and Maurice quickly, or do I wait until we hear more about Project T and then can cover them in more detail, potentially with information from Project T to help me do it? I don't know, I kind of like to hear what you guys think. Would you guys like a video on Saku and Maurice quickly, or maybe just later once we hear more about Project T? So that's a question I'm going to leave to you guys. But yeah, that's where those videos are. They will be happening, they are planned. It's just a question of when. Did the Skull Merchant save DBD? That is a question and a half. I'm gonna say no, but she definitely did save my interest in the game over the past year or so. A lot of the killers they've been releasing up until Vecna have just not been interesting to me. I've not been able to play them for beyond a week. But even on her release, Merchant as a character really intrigued me as this kind of evil Batman type beat. But now that she's been reworked and has a really interesting power to boot, this killer has really rotted my brain and I absolutely love it. Without her, I'm not sure I'd be enjoying DBD anywhere near as much as I currently do. So she hasn't saved the game, but she definitely saved my interest in it. Are you still interested in playing Deceiving? The game right now has got some amazing updates and I'm curious if you're still playing it. Yes, I am. I still play quite a bit of Deceive nowadays. I've kind of moved on from my prior favourites, Madame Shu and Ace, and now I'm basically constantly playing Vigil. Between the EMF jammer and the smoke bombs, just creates some really, really interesting gameplay. And the recent updates have been great for them, things like the map changes and the VIP printing keycards and everything. Like, Deceive's genuinely in a really good spot. So anyone watching this video who isn't currently playing Deceive, I'd highly recommend giving it a go. It really is a ton of fun, and most things I said in my old video about it do still stand. What's your favourite class and race to play in D&D? I am a major Paladin enthusiast. Anyone who says Paladins are boring doesn't know how to write a fun one. They're much more open-ended in terms of character writing than most people give them credit for. And whenever I'm playing a new campaign with someone who I've not DM'd with before, when I started Baldur's Gate 3, my default was always right to Paladin. In terms of races, I tend to like the stereotypical monster races, so your half-orcs, tieflings, that sort of stuff. I also like dwarves and humans, really almost anything that isn't an elf, I'll be honest with you. But the fact that my first Tav in Baldur's Gate 3 was a half-orc paladin kind of says everything, I think. What are some of your favourite YouTubers, DVD or otherwise, and how do you think the new Doctor Who season is going? I watch a lot of horror YouTube content, so Dead Meat and Ryan Hollinger are the big two for me. I absolutely love their work, and a lot of the way that they analyse and interpret media is a big inspiration for how I like to do it. Those guys are absolute heroes of mine. In terms of Dead by Daylight YouTube itself, I would say I watch a lot of Scott Jund and Roby's videos, but they're also both my friends, so that would be a massive amount of bias, and so it's probably best if we ignore those. I have lots of different disparate interests that I'll occasionally watch videos on. There are quite a lot of YouTubers whose videos I find very interesting in their own particular niches. Some of them you might not expect, but they're generally super interesting. And keeping a wide pool of interest definitely scratches that part of my brain that just wants to know stuff. So yeah, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, but not really a lot of time on Dead by Daylight YouTube, ironically enough. And the new Doctor Who season, well, it's honestly not bad. It's massive improvement from 13's era. I'm gonna throw Chris Chibnall out of a bloody window. That's not to say this era doesn't have its problems. I think this is probably Russell's weakest season to date, but I can tell he's getting into the character of Ncuti and what he wants Doctor Who to be under his second tenure, so I'm interested to see where he's going. Definitely not bad, I definitely like it. It just doesn't quite measure up to the best of New Who in the RTD1 and late Moffat eras. But Ncuti is still great, and I cannot wait to see more of his Doctor. Here's another kind of 2 for 1. Would you ever make content on a game that isn't Dead by Daylight? And given you've offhandedly mentioned here or there about Overwatch, if we ever get to see maybe some lore videos regarding that. Okay, so, if I was to make consistent lore content for a game that wasn't DBD going forwards, it would definitely be Overwatch. I've played Overwatch, I think, since winter 2016. I'm very much an old fart with that game, and it was a game I have a lot of love for and still play very regularly. At the end of the day, getting Dead by Daylight players to watch videos that are not about Dead by Daylight is really fucking hard. And my view counts have definitely paid the price for that whenever I've tried to step out of the DBD niche. Maybe a second channel would be the answer here, I just don't know. But if the appetite is there, then absolutely. I'm behind on the tomes and behind on potential problems. I have a shit ton of stuff I want to make. So it's kind of a question of fitting it in. I don't doubt that I would likely enjoy making Overwatch content, for a similar reason that I'm sure I'd enjoy making Magic the Gathering content. Just a question of finding the time and finding the viewers. You don't like Huntress because she's a zoning queen, but what about the other zoning killers, specifically Demogorgon, Slinger and Xenomorph? My issue with Huntress's zoning isn't so much the zoning itself. After all, a lot of killers in Dead by Daylight these days are zoners. But it's more the fact that it can be done at any range without much you can do about it, unless you just hope the environment is in your favour. We've all seen the Holding Harry Huntresses, the kind who will just walk you down with a hatchet held up, knowing that if you hide from the little wall you're hiding behind or generator you've been doing, you're just going to get hit. In those situations, you're almost entirely reliant on the Huntress missing, especially because she has flight speed add-ons. Her hatchets are the size of the proud nation of Uganda. She has way more agency in hitting you at that range than you will ever have at avoiding it. And it's that distance denial that has very consistently been something I've always disliked with killers. I don't have an issue with being zoned in a tile. I have an issue with being zoned at a 20 plus meter range because map RNG has happened to give me no options to evade a hatchet. I've always been way more frustrated with distance denial killers as opposed to the quote-unquote anti-loop killers. Because in my mind, distance is the reward that you get from playing well at a tile, whether it's leaving a tile at the right time, getting a stun and running, whatever. Distance is the reward you get for playing well, and killers like Huntress, like Blight, like even Billy these days, just say, yeah, actually you didn't get to make any distance, I get to hit you anyway. And that's the kind of zoning that I have a real problem with. So I don't really mind Demogorgon, don't mind Slinger, and I definitely don't mind Xenomorph. Not my special favourite killers, but I don't really dislike them in the way that I dislike Huntress. Especially because Huntress is so popular on European servers, and they all do the same thing. They run no slowdown because they want to run 4 aura reading perks. They will stand 20 metres away from the first hook they get with their hatchet held up, and then complain in the post-game about how sweaty the survivors are because they brought 4 aura reading perks, no slowdown, and wonder why they only got 3 hooks. If you're a Huntress player, I don't intend to cramp your style, you play whatever the hell you want. I've just noticed a pattern in my Survivor games where EU Huntress players feel like they're mass-produced in a factory. It definitely doesn't help going against them. How have you coped with your autistic traits? Well, I think you're looking at the answer. This entire channel was made because I was bored out of my skull working, and realised I wanted to talk about the video games and the stories that I loved. I wanted to make this channel so that I wouldn't go completely insane, so I could get the hyperfixations out of my brain and into the world in a productive way. And it's caught on in spectacular fashion. So, you know, there's my answer. Any ideas for a lore-accurate Skull Merchant build? Let's paint a picture of who Merchant is for a little bit. She is a technologically minded, skilled hunter, someone who monitors the battlefield, somebody who has the kind of flexibility and agility of an unimpinged human killer, but also kind of has the relative frailty of being an ordinary person compared to Dead by Daylight's realm of gods and monsters. So I thought Dark Arrogance, to represent her normal human nimbleness, but also the fact that she really is just a normal human being and probably gets affected more by the survivors' ways of fighting back than anybody else does. It's a mechanical fit, plus also she's incredibly arrogant. Batteries included, because, well, she literally has a battery add-on, so, like, come on. And Surveillance and Predator, because they together construct this image of this master of her own domain. This skilled and dedicated territorial hunter, who monitors her prey with absolute precision. So, yeah, that's the build I'm going for. Does it get stressful being the community-designated lore guy? It definitely does a bit. It has gotten worse, I'll admit, in the past couple of years, because I've not been as enthusiastic about much of the new content. So people who really like it get upset at me, because it's like I'm attacking their new favourite thing. This happened a lot with End Transmission. The one exception really has been Merchant, which I've been a little too enthusiastic about, and has drawn me even more hate and even more people getting up in my shit. It would be funny if it weren't so sad. I truly am flattered by the fact that you guys have seemed to have decided that I'm the community's lore guy, but yeah, it can get stressful sometimes, especially when I give an unpopular take and it feels like I'm walking on eggshells around some of you. But, you know, that's just part of the job, I guess. Are you working on any more Potential Problems episodes, or are you moving on from them? A few people have asked me this, and long story short, Potential Problems is still happening. I have quite a few more lined up. I've had my reasons for not doing any more though since Bioshock. Been a mixture of things. Some level of creative stagnation for the power designs I'll use. They're often a stressful copyright nightmare from doing a film or a TV show. We've had so many licensed chapters lately, and are about to get so many more, that I want to talk more about the game itself and its original characters. The Freddy video was kind of an unofficial installment in the series, and the other 50k celebratory video that's currently in the pipeline is also cut from the same cloth, so keep an eye out for it. But yeah, more Potential Problems is definitely coming. It's just been a long time in production. I needed a bit of a break from the series, but I'm ready to get back to it in a big way. And while names from the poll I did in December, like Homelander and Terminator, are definitely on the radar, the next one I'll be doing is actually going to be about Dishonored, in case that whets your appetite at all. Besides a Blood Angel Death Company Marine, who else from 40k would make a good killer? Okay, my two big candidates here are not Astartes. They are a Harlequin Solitaire or an Eversor Assassin. I can't think of something that embodies that fusion of sci-fi, horror and fantasy like an Eversor Assassin. It is a drugged up superhuman maniac outfitted with the most terrifying and powerful weapons the Imperium can fit onto a human body that blows up if you kill it. It is the perfect emblem of the over-the-top, batshit grimdarkery of the Imperium, and it would make a very fitting killer. A Harlequin Solitaire would also be an excellent choice, since the Harlequins match deadly Eldar technology with a level of acrobaticism that we haven't really seen in a killer so far. Plus I could very easily see a dedicated minion of Sigorak, figuratively and literally playing along with the entity's games. A couple of folks have asked, what kind of music do I like? I think I'll let Joan Jett answer this one. Yeah, I listen to a lot of rock and a lot of metal. I'm going to put a bunch of albums that I like on screen right now. My favourite album is Into the Wildlife by the fantastic Hailstorm, who I saw in Wembley back in December. Yeah, if you go on Hailstorm's YouTube channel and look at their Live in Wembley videos they did recently, I was in the crowd there. I was tucked away in the corner, and it was one of the best nights of my life. Granted, I did then get stuck in London afterwards, but, you know, that's a story from another time. A couple of folks have asked, is the Lore Build series coming back? And the Lore Build series will come back when I get back to streaming, which might take a while. For the longest time, I've only had the desk space to have one monitor for a setup, which means I haven't been able to effectively stream. Between that and my crappy internet, anyway. But I'm moving into a new place soon, hoping to get a bigger desk and have the room to set up 2 monitors. And when that happens, I'll be able to get back to streaming, and then the Lore Build series will return the way it used to be. The other big reason I haven't streamed is I had a massive PC crash back in December, which put it out of action for most of the month, but also wiped out all of my stream presets for OBS and most of the resources I used to stream with. Before I streamed again, I had to basically rebuild all my profiles and all my scenes from the ground up, which would be a massive faff, and at this point I may as well wait until I know I can stream again before I take the time to do that. The lore build series and streams in general, I do want to bring them back, but it's just a matter of time making sure that I can physically do it. So watch this space. I think the last question of the day is going to be, what characters do you think will need a second tome, either to fix some issues or to expand the story? One word, Trapper. Trapper. Trapper's lore is a fucking mess. I love him, I love Evan McMillan, but his story really is showing its age. The game can't seem to decide how it wants him to be treated. It almost feels like it wants his dad to be the villain of the story more than he does, which, by the way, I'm fine with. Just be consistent with it. I'd love to know if things like the mine collapse really were Archie's doing or whether they were Evan's. I want to know where he got his mask from. I want to know his interactions with the mine workers that, according to his tome, he was close with. His lore is just a shit show. I really think it needs cleaning up, and I think a new tome, and perhaps just as importantly, going back to rewrite his base lore, because it is so old and so far detached from the Trapper that I think they want to present, that Trapper really does need some love in terms of lore. He desperately needs it. Legion got their comic, and that was cool. That definitely clears things up around the characters, and that leaves Trapper just as a glaring example of a character full of retcons who desperately needs fixing up. I am feeling pretty confident though that he may get it, because at this point we're running out of killers to give tomes to that haven't already got them. The only original killers yet to receive tomes now are Dredge and Unknown. They are the only two. Meaning that with this year full of licenses, unless we're about to get a load of licensed tomes, we're likely going to end up going back to older killers who've yet to receive a tome. And Trapper is a prime candidate. He was in the very first tome, meaning that his story is already old as shit, and his lore is well known to be a complete mess, and full of things behaviour seems to want to retcon or change. So, I think more than any other character in this game, it's Trapper who needs a second tome, and I have every faith that he will actually get one. I also wouldn't mind like Hag or Nia or Vittorio getting another tome, but really Trapper is my number one pick here. That's all I think we have time for today, and I think on that front, I just need to say thank you. This channel has been a lifeline for me for the past couple of years. It's got me meeting friends and doing things that I never thought I'd be able to do, and I couldn't do any of it without you. So, thank you. It's been an honour being your lore guy, and I want to keep doing it for as long as you'll have me. So, cheers. If you've got any more questions, hop on the Discord server and pop it to me and ask the lore guy, and I will see you very soon. Ta-ta for now.